Yo, what is good, everybody? I hope you all had a good trading day. There's an insane amount of opportunities setting up in the markets right now for some easy money plays over the next couple days or so this is not a video you want to miss. Make sure to watch the whole thing through. As for my camera, it's been acting up. Should get resolved pretty soon. So, other than that, we're just going to get into it. Make sure to show the video some love, give it a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, to start off, we got oil here. It's been very slow, kind of going back and forth in this pretty wide range, but I do think this is actually about to top, and we're about to get a relatively good downside move down to this region to test some liquidity in that 77 to 75 region. So if you're playing futures, you know that's a couple thousand per contract. Really looking for that downside move. But what I would like to see for me to really be confident about this downside move is one more high. So wave 4 tends to be a kind of sideways development for one more high, and then you correct. So if this does get one more high, I would really be looking to short. So it's a little interesting because you tried getting that high back here, but it did not manage to do that. So it's a little tricky here, and that's what happens in wave 4s. Wave 4s can be tricky. So assuming this is wave 4 and we have one more high coming, that's what I would really like to see. There's a lot of weakness coming in. So you can see with these divergences, I'm getting ready to short oil, but I'm being a little patient here in case he wants to make that one more high. So keep oil on watch. That ticker to short oil through shares is SCO. Keep oil on watch. Natural gas. So this thing. So I was looking into kind of the bigger picture earlier today, and it's really setting up for a major reversal here. As you can see, you got the daily MACD crossing over, daily RSI crossing over, and what's happened in the past. Every time this has happened, MACD cross 65% run, 163% run, 32% run. And if you're playing those leveraged ETFs like oil or cold, which moves double what natural gas does, you're looking at like several 100% moves. So from here, we've been looking at that shorter time frame technicals, and what I've been looking for is we're kind of waiting for this wave 4 bounce before we get one last low, and from there we were looking at some major upside really throughout the whole year, I think. So natural gas, this is if you're kind of looking for some sort of long-term play, you're gonna want to see a bounce and then one more low, and if you get that, I am really looking to go long for quite a while, couple months maybe, because the upside is enormous if this is what we get. So you got your wave 1 down, wave 3, very little relief. That's what wave 3s do. You don't really get any bounces. So assuming this is wave 3 and we're about to get this bounce for wave 4 and one more low, it's going to be very tricky because we've been moving down a lot, and it's going to take some serious downward pressure to get one more low if we get that bounce, because there's a lot of shorts in this, so you're going to see some nice squeezes. You've kind of had that on the way down, but they're really managing to hold us down. But we got a big bounce coming soon. That's really all I have to say. We have a bounce coming soon. So that ETF to be watching, BOIL, BOIL. So if you get that bounce, keep an eye out for one more low. But soon enough, couple weeks, maybe a month or so, you're gonna see some major upside moves on natural gas. DXY, not too much to say about this. It's not as useful as it used to be, but in my last video, I said it has to hold this low, or there's plenty of downside, because there's not really any supports, I guess, until that 99, 98 region. So gotta hold here, or you could see some more downside. Apple, we finally hit my target here, that upper gap. So we've been tracking this since all the way down here. I've been bullish pretty much since the start of this pattern, just kind of waiting for it to show some signs of bottoming, and that's when I was really getting bullish right around here, because nothing goes down forever, nothing goes up forever, and when you see this kind of structure where the price is going down and you start to see these indicators moving up, showing you that there's a divergence, you're looking for some nice upside, and the longer it does that, the more of a reversal you're looking at. Just tighter consolidation for longer. That's just going to produce a bigger, longer lasting breakout. So we finally hit that upper gap, and we broke out of this bigger wedge. So this is very interesting because, now this is in the picture. that 160, which I've been saying is in the picture since all the way back here. Just now, that might be really its kind of priority to get to fill that gap. So what happened these past few days? Well, you entered this volume gap. So that's why you're seeing this kind of accelerated move up with no relief, because once you get into this illiquid zone, it really just goes straight to that next area of liquidity, which is something we've been trading around on SPY a lot. So Apple, there's not really too much to say. I'm not sure if it's going to keep going from here, just because it's filled this gap. It's been on quite a run here, so it might actually pull back from here. Just kind of from a glance, we could actually have a completed 5 waves up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could see a move down now, correct? It would be right around this middle region. You would want to see this wave 4 low hold, because that would be a pivot. So 133, yeah, the low 130 area. So if you get a pullback, you're going to want to see that hold, or you could see a little more downside from there. Tesla, we finally hit my target at this supply zone. We said 101 is probably going to be that bottom, because that's the last demand zone, and under that you would be moving to 66. So after this move, that just didn't make sense, so we were really looking for this bounce to come. That's what we got right into the supply zone. So really big area, and as I've said, you're going to get railed by sellers here, because I can guarantee you a lot of people were eyeing this demand zone when we were dropping. Like I was like, this is probably gonna hold, and it just sliced through. It didn't even try to hold it, so that was really interesting. And I'm positive there were a lot of people that got in here. They saw this gap fill, they saw this demand zone, they saw this trend line, several trend lines. So there's a lot of people who are just getting back to break even, looking to exit. So you could definitely see some downside pressure, some selling here. I guess you have a little gap up here. So also you do have a gap. Yeah, you got a couple gaps below. So I'm not exactly bullish here. It's definitely had quite the move up since then. I believe that's like 40%, right? Yeah, 40%. So this was the move we were looking for. We finally got it. So from here, I'm just kind of waiting to see if it wants to cool off. It could go higher, that 160s we were talking about, right up to the top where that next volume gap is. So it would be quite a challenge for it to just move up if it gets above this. So I could definitely see a lot of selling happening here. Amazon, we got that breakout we were looking for, but I think it might need a breath, just because Amazon's had quite a decent move as well. So 20%, it might need a breath here, which is what I would like to see, actually, just because this is quite the move, quite the breakout. But I've been on that gap for quite a while, ever since we started approaching this bigger trend line here, as well as just that trend line breakout, which we finally got. And I said once we break it, we're gonna move up. So now nothing goes up forever, nothing goes down forever, so we might need a little more breathing before before we see if it wants to fill that gap. So here's where the money is probably going to be made for a majority of the people. So LabU, we got an entry down here with the target at 770 to 810, and now we're assuming that it's going to stay in this range and probably return down back here. So that's quite the move. That's 20%, and on Lab, the ETF that we would be playing, this is the inverse. You could see a really nice move up on this too. So what we're looking for here, the trend line we're watching is right here. So once we break this, it should get quite a quick sell-off. And I think it's going to be a lot easier than this play, because this was really irritating. It couldn't get through this region. This was definitely a tricky area. You had your stop loss hunt down here, stopped out all the people who got this bottom, and then it squeezed up instantly. So this was really irritating. Stopped out a lot of people. A lot of people went short, thinking it would break down under this range, and it just destroyed those shorts. They probably started chasing, and then you did this range bound thing, kind of just confusing everyone, and then it finally broke up into those targets. So now we're looking for that inverse direction, just waiting for this trend line to break. So put this trend line on your chart, keep an eye on it. Once it breaks underneath this, LabD should get a pretty nice run up. I'm not sure, so we're just gonna have to look at XPI to see what kind of move this would want. Really, I think the easiest way to measure the LabD move is to watch for LabU to get to that bottom of the range once it breaks that line. So keep this on watch. This is looking like pretty easy money to me if it stays in this range. The next one, SOXS. So this one, really interesting here, it might have actually finished a downtrend today. So there's a chance it had these 5 waves down. After 5 waves down, you get your relief. If it's 5 waves up, you get 3 waves down. If it's 5 waves down, you get 3 waves up. And those 3 waves up or down, whatever the direction is, likes to target the 50% retrace to that 61.8% retrace. So that's a pretty nice move up from here. That's gonna be 50%. So that's quite the move. Keep an eye on this thing because that is a seriously nice move. And besides that, you also have gaps all the way up here, so there is some major upside here. Don't sleep on this one. The main ETF is at a big resistance. It's had quite the move up already. You do have a gap up here, which is one we've been watching for quite a while. So once you fill this gap, I'm not sure if you want to fill this gap before moving down, but other than that, there's really not much incentive for it to go higher than that. You got your 5, perfect example here actually. 5 waves down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get your reversal. So that's what we're doing right now. 3 waves up, going into the rest of 2023, you're probably going to see some disgusting downside on this thing, which would result in some major upside for SOXS. We've been trading this all of 2022. We made some crazy money. We went long down here. We sold a little early, but we made some serious money on that. Yeah, don't sleep on this ETF. There's some crazy money to be made. So you got these divergences building, potentially 5 waves down. So keep this on watch. It could get a really nice bounce here. VIX, not too much to say, just because it's at a tricky spot here. So you have a gap down here, and it failed to kind of reclaim that breakout to the upside. So VIX, I'm really just watching for it to finish that gap fill, which I would assume happens. I really don't see. I see that as the highest incentive of VIX just wanting to do that gap fill. So on the spot here, we're looking at a pullback. So there's 2 scenarios really. One is we're going to keep moving down from here, or we're going to make one more move up, one more high before correcting, and getting a bigger correction than if we just drop from here. So looking at futures, it's going to be easier to do this on futures. We're going to zoom in a little here. So this is kind of what we're looking at. Either this was the correction, so you had your 1, 2, 3, 4. This is very awkward to deal with, but I think I would count this as wave 4. I don't want to, but just because it looks really, it doesn't look right. But if this is wave 4 somehow, and this is wave 5, well, what do you know? You get your ABC down, just like I was talking about. But in the case that this is, this downside move is, or the downside is not complete, and you get that one more high. So after one wave, you get 3 waves down. Wave 1, then you get your 3 waves down. Your next wave. So again, this is just really awkward because you can't really see any waves in this. It's literally like perfectly sideways. The scenarios here are you had your 3 down, and you have your 5th wave up. So 3rd wave likes to extend if you didn't know that. So you get one more high, and I would really like to short up here. So maybe if we hit that trend line again, I would short. Now, if we don't get that one more high, and we start dropping as soon as tomorrow because, Microsoft had some bad, I believe it was guidance numbers, we would continue dropping from here. So this would be a bigger ABC. So you don't really need to worry about how all of this counting works, but C likes to be equal to the length of wave A. So really the downside is not that crazy from here. You already had quite a nice drop, so really unfortunate. I was actually planning on shorting today, but it was really it was being a little tricky around that 400 level on SPY. So if you're in the Discord, last night I said I'm looking to short this thing, maybe tomorrow, and I just didn't really follow through with that. But that's fine because you don't want to get stuck on the wrong side of a play. That can turn on you very quickly, and this is kind of a scenario where it can turn on you very quickly. You had Microsoft earnings, so earnings are always a curveball, and I'm actually going to mention that with Netflix because you had the earnings curveball. But anyway, SPY, we're going to drop soon. It's just a question of, do we have one more high, then we drop, or do we drop here and then get another high? So you really have to pay attention to kind of the micro moves here because either you get this downside move here and then you get another high, and then you get a big correction, or you get, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get a drop. There's kind of a lot of ways it can go from here. So if you see some downside from here, you kind of want to be careful with being greedy. I would not want to be too greedy if we continue dropping from here, because you could easily see a very quick bounce, very fast bounce, and then a big correction. But if you get that one more high from here, I would feel pretty good about shorting. So if you get that one more high from here, then you're going to see probably quite a nice drop. So keep an eye on those microwaves. You have a drop coming. Netflix. So that drop actually played out as expected, but those earnings, I don't like trading around earnings or holding through earnings, just because it does this. So this is whack. But we had that drop after 5 waves. If you're in the Discord, I was saying we're probably going to top around, I don't see any higher than 334. Now, when you have these stocks that are like really high in price, you can give them buffers, and if you go on to the hourly, that was pretty much just a wick above 334. So yeah, tweezer top, you went up above 334, and then you shot right back down, and then you're getting rejected at 334, and you got that drop we were looking for. But earnings, that thing is a curveball. You got your 5 waves up and your correction, but you got your correction and it just kept going. So Netflix, it filled that gap. Now it's just, you do have a tiny gap up here, very small gap here. So Netflix, we got that drop I was looking for, but for now it's more just like, how high can this go? Because it's somewhat uncharted territory. You are going to see some major resistance in this area, because there's a lot of congestion previously. So you could see a lot of sellers coming in here because you had buyers thinking this was the bottom for a little bit, and then it just died. You got people averaging down and finally getting back to break even, or maybe even a little in the green. So they're probably going to want to start taking profits. It's overbought. You could definitely see some turning here, but I would not want to do this prematurely without more signs of it turning, just because you could see quite a melt up here. So Netflix, earning curveball, threw everything off track, but at some point it's going to come back down, especially going into the next couple months. We've been talking about that big short, which I will probably talk about a little more in tomorrow's video, just because right now we're more focusing on the smaller moves, but we have that major short coming up. SPY's going to be heading to 300. It's just a matter of, can it get this last final push before all of this negative energy, bearish momentum from that cycle analysis starts coming into the picture, and those bears are seriously going to hit the market hard. But the question is are we just going to get that melt up before we get that drop? So stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We're going to be focusing a little more on the bigger picture. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this video. Make sure to show the video some love, give it a like and subscribe if you watch the whole thing through, and peace out, guys.